We've been hinting at this feature for quite some time now. It's even listed on Steam and itch as a feature in the full game. And now we've finally implemented it. That's right, adoption is finally a feature in the full game. Let's break it down, shall we? Quick introduction, unless you're not aware. I'm LevUNknown, lead developer of Mistwinter Bay. My sister makes the art for the game and I currently do everything else. First of all, let me quickly explain why it's only possible to adopt a child and not give birth to one in Mistwinter Bay. That's mostly because the player character doesn't have a specified gender, which is good for many reasons, not the least for us making the game. Since the player character doesn't have a gender, it doesn't really make sense if they have children. Even if the player could pick a gender, there are characters in the game who you can't have biological children with, or those who it will be very difficult to have biological children with. So they would have to adopt anyway, which means that having adoption as the only option makes a lot of sense. And by having adoption, the children can be older and actually talk and have distinct personalities. It's really a win for everyone to have adoption as the only option. So in Mistwinter Bay there's quite a big focus on character relationships. If you get to know a character well enough, you can propose to them and marry them a month later. After you've been married for a while, your spouse approaches you and suggests that you adopt a child together. Like many things related to your spouse, they have an opinion on the matter. They can be excited to adopt, not really care, or not want to adopt. Depending on if you go against your spouse's wishes, that is, adopt when they don't want a child and vice versa, your spouse can like or dislike you. This isn't reputation, by the way, but a specific marriage relationship status. More on that in our devlog that discusses marriage. If you choose to adopt, Jack breaks down the process for you and presents 4 children for you to choose from. Why 4 children? It felt like a decent number. Having multiple to choose from also enhances replayability. Each child has their own personality, interests and background, much like the townsfolk and foreign leaders. So adopting a specific child offers a different experience than if you adopted another one. This makes Mistwinter Bay quite different from other games where you can raise children, like Stardew Valley, Story of Seasons and even The Sims. Especially in Stardew Valley and Story of Seasons type of games, having a kid doesn't really matter, they just stand there being decorative. The fact that they aren't babies but actually children helps in the sense of bringing them personality. The raising of the child in Mistwinter Bay isn't as hands-on as in The Sims, but you still have input on your child's development and what type of person they'll turn into. More on that later. So after you've decided which child you want to adopt, Jack asks if you want to change the child's name. This may seem weird to some, but the fact is that a lot of parents who adopt in real life change their child's name, especially if they are adopted from another country. And this is also a sort of compromise for players who would like the experience of having their own biological child from birth. If you choose to change the name, you get to write whatever you want, much like when you create your own character. I assume most people want to do this properly and give their child a good name, but I also know some people might want to go for something a bit more silly. When the name is settled, Jack leaves you and your spouse to decide what the child should call you. By this I mean mom, dad, or things like that. You may ask, why even pick that? Well, in Mistwinter Bay you never pick a gender, your character is whoever you want them to be. This means that you as the player should get the option to decide if you want your child to call you something masculine, feminine or non-gendered, since your child will want to call you something. You can have them call you something unconventional like sovereign or your name, but your spouse might question you if you do. Your spouse also has preferences for what the child should call them. But unlike the whole adoption thing, they don't get happy or angry about anything related to this. Instead, every character has a preferred nickname, like Dawn, who has Mom. If you pick anything but Mom, the child will call Dawn Mom. But if you pick Mom, the child will call you Mom instead. Dawn will then pick her backup option, which is Mommy. The same goes for all characters if you choose the same as their number 1 choice. Most of these nicknames are self-explanatory, something you hear in real life. But we've added 1, or rather 2, options for non-gendered parents. This is for players who don't identify with masculine or feminine nouns, or for in-game characters like Erwin. This nickname is Hefsa or Hefsi, which are 2 completely made-up nouns that I came up with for the game. In the lore, Hefsa and Hefsi were historically used for all parents a long time ago. Hefsa referred to the parent of higher social status or H, and Hefsi was the parent of lower social status or H. In the current in-game time, Hefsa and Hefsi are mostly used for same-sex couples or non-gendered parents. If you pick the Hefsa-Hefsi option, you will almost always be called Hefsa. That's what everyone wants to be called too, so if you pick Hefsa, everyone will be called Hefsi. The only time you will be called Hefsi is if you are married to Gerd and pick the Hefsa option. Since Gerd has higher social status and is older than you, he will be called Hefsa no matter what. With that tangent out of the way, we can get back to the adoption process. It takes a month for your child to arrive. Each child has their own short little introduction event that takes place as the monthly event. Then you probably won't see your child for a while. Adoption and family life is mostly a side feature in Mistwinter Bay, and some players might not experience it at all, so there aren't that many interactions between you and your child. But each child has 4 unique events, in addition to their introduction event. These events can't happen if your spouse is dead, but if they're alive, an event like this pops up at regular intervals. In these events, the child faces some sort of problem that needs to be tackled. It's either caused by other people or the child themselves. Either way, you have to handle the situation. In each event you are presented with 3 options. Each option encourages the child to follow a specific path in life. There are 3 paths in total for each child. These paths determine what your child will do when they grow up, which in turn decides the fate of all of Mistwinter Bay and the legacy you leave behind. When you return to the throne room after a child's event is over, you can see if your choice in the event has changed the child's path. You can see that in the child menu, which you can access in the throne room at the start of a month after you've adopted. The child's path can be seen as current fascination. Some of these descriptions may be a bit more cryptic than others. At the end of the game, your decisions in shaping your child's future plays out in its own separate ending. We won't show any of this for spoiler reasons. You'll just have to play the game yourself once it's fully released. And that's basically it about adoption. If you have any questions about what we mentioned or think we forgot to explain something, please leave a comment and we'll answer you in the comment section. That's all for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.